I would much rather we sang the great hymns of the faith that everybody knows and the outsider knows, because they then let's remember when they sing that then they will sing that into their lives. Singing takes Sunday's faith into Monday, because they'll remember those lyrics, they'll remember those turns of phrase, and so it's a wonderful chance. It's a wonderful chance to really reach our community first of all.
Hello and welcome to Independence. It's the FIEC podcast for church leaders, and whoever you are, whether you're in an FIEC church or not, you're very welcome. My name is Adrian Reynolds. I'm the Associate National Director for the FIEC, and I've got two guests with me today, both from Northern Ireland. I'm not sure how that happened, but it's obviously Providence. First of all, Phil Moore. Phil, what do you do at Cornerstone, Phil? We know you as Phil Moore, the musician.
I do.
Cut price Keith Getty, I call you. But what do you do at Cornerstone?
Yeah, I do whatever I'm told, but mainly I oversee our music ministry and also currently our ministry with under 18s within the church there.
Great. And you've just led the music for us at our leaders conference, which was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. And special guest today, Keith Getty, coming to us from Nashville, Tennessee. Is that right? Have I got the right place?
I live in a house with a wife and 4 daughters, so I do what I'm told most of the time as well. But I have some head coverings for them just to make sure.
Okay, my wife's favourite verse in the Bible is the Lord said to Abraham, "Listen to your wife and do what she says." I'm pretty sure that's the secret to a happy marriage. Keith, thank you so much for joining us. A real privilege to have you with us. Keith, of course, is well known for the great song "I'm Ready to Go, I'm Ready to Grow." I just like to say that is my.
It was an easy rhyme, and it sounded like a carpenter song. So
it's my fave. I love it, and we sing that in church a lot. The kids love it, and it's a great. There aren't many mission songs.
Well, thank you.
And that is a great song. So I'm commending the little known, but should be much higher up the charts. So.
Yes, the Americans actually think it was stolen from Daydream Believer, the Monkees song. They kind of got that vibe.
So thank you, Keith, from the Monkees. Thank you very much for joining us. We're here to talk, guys, about making the most of music at Christmas. So Christmas is soon upon us. We all love Christmas. Is the tree up in the Moore household yet?
Not yet. No, my wife would have it up, but we're not quite there just yet. I like to get into at least the first week of December.
Okay. And what is that a fight in the Getty household as well?
No, it goes up this week because we in America have a thing called Thanksgiving. We're very thankful people.
Yes.
And so we'll be doing all that. So you should try it sometime. It brings huge amounts of optimism to your soul,
Well, there we are. And Keith, can we just say we miss you in the UK? I know you're serving the wider world in Nashville, and that's a great thing that you're doing. But we do miss you, and we miss having you around.
Well, there's an old Irish evangelist used to always say, better wanting what you don't have than having what you don't want. And I kind of feel that's the case for the British church. But I will say this: I turned 50 at Christmas, and my sense of my Northern Irishness, or my Irishness, or my Britishness, or my Celticness, whatever it is stronger every day. And despite the fact that geographically we have lived in America, I don't think anybody thinks that our music sounds American. So, the heart and soul and passion of what we do, I would argue, actually could only have been done by somebody who was from the north of Ireland and had that combination of Irish and then Scotch-Irish Presbyterian and then British Anglican influences, all sort of feasting into it. And every year we miss it more. And to be connected at the minute with so many people involved in growing ministry, in vital ministry in the UK, and seeing what's happening in the UK in the last 2 years, it only increases our taste to be home. And
you're back for Christmas, aren't you, Keith? You're back for a couple of things or three things.
I'll be home for Christmas, and it's really we're getting to share some Christmas music in Glasgow and London and Belfast, and then we get to go home for Christmas. And
we will put the links for that in the show notes if you want to get along. Glasgow first. Then London, Royal Albert Hall. I've played the organ in the Royal Albert Hall. That's my claim to fame.
It's one of the great organs.
It is. Well, it was before it was reconditioned, and it was still good then.
Anna Lapwith's done a pretty good job with it now, I have to say.
She has, Absolutely. Exactly right. Now, here we are. How to make the most of music at Christmas. Christmas is a fantastic opportunity. I mean, that's still the case, isn't it? We haven't lost that, have we, Phil?
No, absolutely not. But I must admit, as a musician in church, Christmas can sometimes feel like a repetitive strain injury. It's like, oh, there it is again. Because it's a time when I think we can feel the pressure to do something different. We can feel the pressure it has to be utterly new and special. And that's not a bad ambition, is it? To kind of do something which is, pushing the boat out a little bit to try and help people, especially thinking about the outsiders coming in. And we want to celebrate. So we want to do something special. Yeah. But I do want to say, we just want to do the good things well. And I think that should be our priority rather than trying to do something new all the time.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, preachers feel that way too about Christmas. There's only so many Christmas texts that I think I can get round. And yeah. Anyway, Keith, why are carols so popular? What is it about them that resonates with people who aren't even Christians?
Well, carols are as old as Christmas itself. The origin of carols is the Christmas story itself, which was brought to us in 4 songs. And so if we look at Christian history, the earliest dramas and artistic representations of Christmas involved songs. So, carols themselves are as old as the church and are a beautiful tradition. And I think because of that, we're more inclined towards the tradition. And then along the years, we've picked up such extraordinary carols. So for these 4, or if you include Epiphany, maybe you get to 5 Sundays a year. For these 5 Sundays of the year, you have this opportunity to sing these songs. So there's a sense of tradition, but there's also just a sense of inherent quality. So something like "Hark the Herald Angels Sing" may be Charles Wesley's greatest lyric, but with the help of others, I should add as well. Yes. Then you've got Mendelssohn's Melody, of course. So you've got some of the finest minds and creative people in history writing what are just extraordinary pieces of art. That have featured in some of the greatest orchestral music. God Rest You Merry Gentlemen inspired Charles Dickens's, Christmas Carol, and they found their way into the high street. They found their way into media. They found their way into our consciences, and also, of course, then the third aspect is because of the family and Christmas, children's aspect of Christmas. We learn them all as kids. And even as education begins to, as secularism sort of encircles education more and more each year, there's still a sense that carols are known that way. So they're an extraordinary gift to the church, because here we have, it's like, if you think about nations, being proud of their great museum or their great cathedral, we as Christians have this extraordinary artistic treasure, which is these carols, many of which tell the gospel in such beautiful ways. And the other thing I would say about them as well, as a general comment, is because it's the incarnation, they're a little bit warmer, they're a little bit more human. So even viscerally, and this is important for those of us who come from more reformed and sort of, or even systematic theological backgrounds, the incarnation aspect of it makes them feel a lot more human. Your visceral reaction is a lot more warm as you sing them, because you feel the sense of God becoming man and all that is in it as well. So that they're wonderful.
And they've been tested, haven't they? I always say to folk, I lead the music team in our church. We're a small church, and I always say to people, let's wait a year, or at least a year, for a new song until it's been tried and tested by Phil at Cornerstone. And when Phil's sorted it out, then we'll sing it. These are things that have been tried and tested over, hundreds of years. Some of them.
Oh yeah. Well, coming to Emmanuel, I think it goes back to the 3rd century. Some of them are well into their second millennia. Yeah. But the great carols, when you think of the great carols, are certainly older than anybody in your congregation.
What is it, do you think, Phil, about Christmas and people singing? I've been to a few funerals recently, where people just don't sing anymore at funerals. Weddings, people don't really sing. So the last funeral I went to, they played a track of Amazing Grace with singing attached to it, because that was the only way that it could sound like people were singing. So people don't sing at funerals, people don't sing at weddings, they'll sing at Christmas. What's going on?
I think people love to enter into that tradition. I think there is that aspect of kind of joining with people through the ages who have sung these songs. And I think a lot of people, if they're not yet believers, there's a kind of sentimentality about that. But I think there is something about being a link in the chain of the history of these songs and joining and entering into that. People ultimately want that kind of Christmassy feeling, don't they?
Yeah.
And we want to say, well, the true Christmassy feeling is understanding and singing the gospel story, because that is how we truly enter into the spirit of Christmas through Christ and understanding Him.
And I think we need to be confident, don't we, that people do want to do that. I mean, we've even got Richard Dawkins, the arch atheist, saying, "I love singing a carol." So one time we'll go to church, it's for a carol service. So it does seem to be an opportunity, doesn't it? Yeah. Keith, tell us a little bit more about the carols that we sing, how we can make the most of those at Christmas. What should we be choosing? I mean, I'm quite tempted to, be a little bit cutting edge. That key change, "Come, all ye faithful." Oh, I like that. What do we need to go for when we're thinking about some of these things that we're choosing for our services?
Well, I don't think it's any different than any other part of the year. Our job in our churches is to help God's people sing and help God's people sing to their Lord. So we want to sing songs that are about Him in the truest and fullest of ways, and we want to sing well. So
does that mean, by the way, that some carols are off limits? Do some carols just not do that?
I think that's for you to decide. I mean, you're intelligent people. You can look at the lyrics and decide.
Well,
I mean,
one of us is. I think.
I think the issue is. I think the first issue is this. Most stats would say most events that are Christian have a 2x when it comes to Christmas. So if your church or your youth group has or a certain Friday night event, they will double in size at Christmas. It's still the number one time of the year. It's still the number one time of the year for people coming into church. And I would just quickly make a quick side note, just to be clear as well. We want to love our musicians and take care of them, because it's an unusual thing that the job goes up 2 or 3 times in intensity when it's the end of the year. Do you know what I mean? They're also tired. So we want to be really, really encouraging and pray for them and take care of them in the process. It's in all the joy that Christmas is.
That's a useful sidebar. Let's just pause there a minute, Keith. How else might we care for them? We pray for them. How else might we show that care for them?
Well, we just get organized, support them, and we don't ask for stupid stuff. Ask for the big stuff. Let's make sure the big services are sung well. Let's make sure the music is as excellent as it can be, and that kind of thing. And just the awareness that this is their busiest time of the year. This is their Super Bowl, and so they got to do that. Yeah. And to put it in the American language. But I think so. We get to the fact of all these people in the church, whether they're young, whether they're old, whether they're Christian, or whether they're yet to believe or once believed. Everybody wants to sing the traditional carols. Everybody sings them well, and also they are rich. If you sing, "Hark the Herald Angels Sing" or "O Little Town of Bethlehem" every Christmas for 40 years, there's a chance a different line will pop out every year and help you understand the beauty of the Lord in a different way.
Yeah.
There really isn't an awful lot of need to go beyond them. I mean, I've had a Christmas production for 15 years. I've written, the first piece I ever wrote for church music was a carol. And that was when I was 35 years ago, and I've written something every year. So I love writing for Christmas, but I only ever really include one kind of new thing every year. So it's not necessary. The joy.
So you're giving us permission not to sing the Getty songbook at Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, even in our Christmas show this year, we're using "Sing Me the Song of Emmanuel," and we looked at, and we're obviously in Christ alone, but we dropped "Christ is Victor" and "Joy has Dawned" and a couple of others just from it because it just didn't quite fit. So it really is. I would much rather. Obviously, I believe in "Sing Me the Song of Emmanuel," but I would much rather we sang the great hymns of the faith that everybody knows and the outsider knows, because let's remember when they sing that they will sing that into their lives. Singing takes Sunday's faith into Monday, because they'll remember those lyrics, they'll remember those turns of phrase, and so it's a wonderful chance. It's a wonderful chance to really reach our community, first of all, but secondly, you don't reach the community if the singing is tepid. You know what I mean? We always remind our people that, if your kids watch you singing, and the passion in your life for your own success or for your sports teams, for your success, or just the joy and fun and thrill you get in other things is obviously much deeper and much more transparent and obvious. That's a really bad thing. So we want to make sure our congregations sing well. So much of the bad singing in modern evangelical churches is nobody's really looking forward to the singing. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so horrible, or because you don't know the songs. So I think to encourage our churches that way as well is good. And then the other like any physical activity in life, to do it well and to do it regularly and to do it the rhythm of that will just build such a confidence and such a joy in our congregations, reminding them as well that we sing because we're created to sing, but we sing because we're commanded to sing. We sing ultimately because of the Lord, but the folks around us are watching. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it might be an unsaved husband. It might be doubting children or teenagers.
It's a proclamation, isn't it? It's a proclamation to others.
And obviously, I mean, it's not exactly about this, but the promise of 2 or 3 are gathered. Any Jewish mind would have understood was a legal term. It was bearing witness. About witnesses. You know what I mean? It's about bearing witness. So it's such an exciting time for this, primarily, and I'd say this, primarily for the senior pastor, but secondarily for the musicians to remind their congregations, this is a season of sung worship, and we are a witness as we do it.
You said to me the other day, Phil, there are some go-to carols that ought to be there. We did a little experiment on Sunday because we were just doing I was leading the service on Sunday, and we were talking about what's coming up, what opportunities are there. And I said about Christmas, and we did a little thing. I said everyone had to think of their favourite traditional Christmas carol, and then I would try and play them and see how many hands went down. But the first 5 carols, I got 90% of people to put their hands down because they were the same 5 carols that people. Yeah. There was someone who was thinking of Cliff Richard, Mistletoe and Wine. I don't know why. That's not going to make it to our. That's not going to make it to our service.
It does have the phrase Christian rhyme in it.
It does. Christian rhyme, I think he says. Anyway, Phil, what are the go-to? Are there some go-tos that really ought to be there?
Well, I know my non-Christian friends will be really disappointed if we don't have Hark the Herald, O Come All Ye Faithful.
All 4 verses?
Silent Night. All 4 verses.
4th verse of Hark the Herald Angels Sing is a cracker. Come, Desire of Nations, come, raise in us your harvest home.
We don't usually do that one, but I'm going to look at that now. You've suggested
Second
that.
Adam from above. Oh, it's got some great theology in it. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, like it is interesting, the songs that consistently are hitting the kind of best loved carols, and those ones keep coming up. Oh Holy Night, that's another interesting one, isn't it, that people seem to love to sing and engage with as well. So there's some go-tos there.
Both written by Jewish melodists, by the way.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. What else is on your list, Phil?
We're singing with our choir this year, In the Fullness of Time, which is a new one that in the last few years, which has emerged from the Getty music team, which is a great one. But I thought that was interesting what we were reflecting on a minute ago, like because of you only get 4 or 5 hits in the build up to Christmas in terms of those Sundays and different things. Like we are singing one max new thing every Christmas season, and we want to really make it count. You think. The other way to kind of slightly get in there is to sing something which is a traditional hymn, which has got kind of Christmas lyrics. So I really like the Holy, Holy, Holy. Is it called the Christmas Sanctus, something like that? Keith, in the bit that's an excellent way of singing a kind of fresh lyric to a familiar tune, familiar melody for folks, and that's an easy win in terms of adding something new into the mix.
Right. And there's incarnation themes in all kinds of places, aren't there? And Hark the Herald Angels Sing didn't start out as a carol. I think, mid-Victorian times, it was voted as the nation's favourite hymn, not the nation's favourite carol. So
Joy to the World was a psalm. Joy to the World came from Watts's psalms.
You've got to have joy to the world, haven't you? You've got to have joy to the world. I think, Keith, how can we get congregations... so let's say I've got, I'm putting all my effort into... So for us, we're putting most of our effort into a Christmas Eve service, traditional carol service. We'll invite people along. How can I prepare the congregation to participate in that well, so that they're doing some of the things you were talking about? Do I sing exactly the same songs the week before, so they're familiar, rather than springing them on them?
I think that's good. So I think probably 3 or 4 different things. I think, first of all, how you prepare them for that is how you prepare them for every Sunday. A congregation needs a theology of singing. So and that is the job of the senior pastor. So any senior pastor who's looking for a music guy and hasn't done the basic homework of teaching their congregation why we sing, that we sing because it's a command, that we sing because we're created to sing. It's part of our humanity, which is why Phil and the band practice, because they want to make it beautiful, because it's creative.
Did they practice? Did you practice?
We sing, of course, ultimately because of Christ, but also just realizing that the singing inwardly transforms, that it transforms family life, that it transforms church life, that it's a witness. I will say this as a side note, because I think people forget our reform. Obviously, singing was back through all parts of Christian history, but the Reformed history, which is where a lot of, I know the FIEC churches will lean to for theology and for pastoral practice. You take Luther and Calvin and Knox and Edwards, all four of them made their congregations practice singing. So the Sunday school movement in America, for example, started off as singing schools, where people, the families in most towns in New England, you got together on a Wednesday night to practice the hymns, to sing for Sunday, which was the highlight of your week. So I think there's good merit in practicing, but ultimately it is people often ask us, what was the best church you went to? And they're expecting us to say, oh, it's a church that sing our songs or share our theology or invested lots of money in music. And honestly, the number one example of churches that sing well as a church, the number one common denominator is a senior pastor who really, really cares. So it begins with the senior pastor. The second thing, which is almost as important, is you sing singable songs. Do you know what I mean? Okay. It is a physical activity. If you and Phil decide to go on a car race and one of you takes my old secondhand car and the other one drives a Porsche, do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter how. One's going to go faster because it just does. At the end of the day, Amazing Grace sings better than 99% of the songs I've written in life. And I've worked pretty hard at it, but it's just not as good. How great hymns sing well. So if your church, and then if they get used to singing great songs, that goes well. And then I would say probably thirdly after that is building a music ministry whose end goal is to help God's people sing. So everything about their excellence in their music, and excellence can mean excellence by the gifts God has given them. If that is done in service and that is done consistently each week, if those three things are together, I think it's hard to beat. So I think to answer your question, I think that's the key thing going into Christmas Eve. And I love the idea of saying each of these hymns we're going to do on Christmas Eve, we're going to do, maybe you drop one each Sunday. Yeah. But it gives you a chance to keep explaining, guys, we're doing this one. This is another one we're doing on Christmas Eve. Let's make sure. And also let's use our technology. What our church now do is on a Sunday, the songs that we're singing on Sunday, that get dropped in on social media and all during the week, so that everybody then puts them on their phone. So I would like to say we practice them really well each week, but what we do most weeks is, if we haven't, what we do is when we get into the car to drive 18 minutes to church, we sing through all the songs on the way to church, so that all the kids are just like singing it once they go. So that's a long-winded answer to your question.
No, that's fine. It's just helpful. I want to ask both of you the same question, because I want to have a bit of advice from you. We're doing two things at Christmas. We're doing this big Christmas Eve push in our church, and we're doing a scratch nativity service. We meet in rented premises. We have to set up in an hour. Everything is kind of done on the fly. So we've decided to go for a nativity service for kids in the local area, and it's kind of come dressed as your favourite character. I'm leading it, for better or for worse. So I'm quite excited about what do I sing at that? So a very family orientated service. Do I sing the same stuff? Do I still sing the same five, or do I mix it up? Give me some wisdom on that. You go first, Keith.
Me.
You are Keith, aren't you? That's right.
In the 60s, in the rush to get to space, America invested I forget the number, the millions of dollars they invested working with scientists and pharmacists, all kinds of different organizations, to try and work out a pen that would actually write in zero gravity, because they realized this was going to be key to everything. And it became a race. It became very highly publicized, exuberant amounts of money spent, and the Russians used a pencil. So I think that's the answer to my question.
I think I know where this is going.
You've got a keyboard. You've got a bunch of great Christmas carols. Just use them. Maybe switch out one kid's one. Maybe do less verses. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think sometimes we can think we need to reinvent the wheel with these things, but just sing the same songs. It might be, and you don't even necessarily need to do it. This might be the opportunity to have a bit of fun with the arrangement and think musically, how do we do them slightly differently? But it's with
Silent Night reggae. Is that what you?
Well, that's it. We have a Christmas service which is kind of all fun and games, and there's there's water pistols and gunge and all those kind of things that kids workers love to do.
Don't write into me. Write to Cornerstone Church in Nottingham, please.
We sing the same songs. We actually get some of our young people involved in singing on the stage and playing their instruments, and it's an intergenerational opportunity just to say, let's do something which is inclusive and it's a training opportunity as well. It gives our young people, our teenagers, an opportunity to be a part of the band and to grow that gifting that the Lord may have given them. Actually, that means we simplify rather than complicate the arrangement. Okay. But it is an opportunity for you to think about that a little bit. I'd say sing the same songs.
Away in a Manger? Where are you both on Away in a Manger?
I don't care.
Okay.
It's fine. I mean, it's as long as you explain the imagery. I mean,
people know it and love it.
The person who wrote that song knew that the Bible says Jesus wept. When they wrote "No crying, he wept." It was metaphorical. Is it helpful? No. Do I do it? No, I don't. But if I was in the service and it was done, I wouldn't care. I mean, it's you've got to with all language. Language is always changing, and metaphor is always being used. Was it a silent night? No, of course it wasn't. But actually, there was.
Was it a midnight clear?
Yeah, no. But actually, the metaphor is actually saying something very important. So if we just use our intelligence a little bit and then use that as a chance to explain the context of that, that helps. I just want to underline what Phil says even more. I loved his answer, and I think. But Phil said what I should have said, and that is make it fun. Make it fun and enjoyable for kids to sing. Do you know what I mean? There's a guy, I think it was in 2012, for the Church Times, actually wrote an article on how the death of children's choirs killed the Church of England, and it was I think it was like a sort of a master's or a PhD piece. He might have done, I can't remember, but it was just brilliant because he basically said, 50 post World War II, you had, in every little village. Most churches had children's choirs. And so what that meant was kids grew up learning the gospel through the songs they sang, learning to be more intelligent because classical music, if you're a classical music kid, you become more intelligent, you just do. Thirdly, it also helps you build community. They got to make friends in church. They got to be part of the church's community. So at best, you had kids getting more involved in church. And at worst, families who were antagonistic to church actually respected the church for giving them free babysitting, giving their kids something healthy to do. And I think in our culture now, part of the reason we're seeing the quiet revival is that so much of culture, so much of woke culture, for example, has now basically destroyed itself, has eaten itself, that if we're bringing kids in and singing beautiful Christmas carols and helping kids maybe sing in harmony or do an action or learn a little story, and just laugh and enjoy themselves. I think it's a great thing. And what better way to do it than actually, I mean, learning a Christmas carol will have far more effect than trying to, or will have equal and different effect than trying to bang a memory verse into them. But the memory verse will be harder to do. Do you know what I mean? So whereas part of song, the whole idea of song is that why 20% of the Bible is songs and poetry is because it moves to our memory bank more quickly and more permanently because we're created in God's image, and that's how God made us. So
that's helpful. Thanks. I'm all set then for the other thing I'm going to do. We meet in a school, primary school, and the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to invite the school to come and sing something for us.
Awesome.
As a way of just saying, maybe that. I don't know whether they will take us up on that.
I think it's fantastic. It is a fantastic.
And we're almost out of time. Can I just ask you both one last question? A lot of FIEC churches feel quite ordinary when it comes to music. They're perhaps slightly overawed, as I am really. You come to big events, or you're up at the Royal Albert Hall, you see a great concert, and go back to church, and I think it's just Mrs. Miggins there on the piano. Christmas is great actually for Mrs. Miggins because it's more likely that she's okay with carols and stuff like that than she is with syncopation and strange chord structures and lead sheets. And actually, we need to feel, don't we, whatever size church we are, whatever resources we've got at hand, even if it's none musically, there's it's unaccompanied. We can do this, can't we? It's possible. Isn't that right, Phil?
Absolutely. And I was just going to say, those are the people who maybe would feel intimidated with some of the music that we do the rest of the year, who actually Christmas might be their time to shine and really and serve. As we say, a lot of our music and musicians are weary as they get to the end of the year. Why don't we lean on some of these people to play for one of the services? Give that young mum who's playing the piano every week a week off so she can sit with her kids rather than needing to play at the front of church. That could be a real blessing to them.
Yeah. And Keith, what about you? I mean, we're not all mega churches, but we can do this, can't we?
And to be very clear, my wife and I didn't grow up in a mega church, and we don't attend a mega church. We live in the mega church capital of America, and we go to our local church. It's a non-denominational, very like an FIEC church, really. So no, but I think again that it boils down to the senior pastor in many ways. You know that why do we sing? I mean, this is the privilege of God's people, is to gather on a Sunday with this kind of ragtag bunch of people to sing together. But why I'm singing on Sunday morning and why I was singing yesterday morning is because of all the reasons we know we're called and commanded to sing, and because everything the Lord has done for us. But as we sing as individuals, we sing as family, but we sing as community. So I'm singing a Christmas carol and singing about the hope that Jesus brings and the peace that Jesus brings, knowing that somebody in my row has got a diagnosis of cancer and somebody has got a seat empty beside them because somebody is no longer there. And all of us, Alistair Begg used to always remind us before we started each service at Parkside, you know, that all of us live lives of quiet desperation. And so that's why we sing. It's part of why we sing on a Sunday. So we're singing, you know, the privilege of it, and it's different as well. I mean, the second thing, just to Phil's point as well, these carols were not written. They were not written for guitars. They were written for an organ or a piano, or written just to be sung chorally. Do you know what I mean? So they actually, I would argue they sing best when you have somebody playing the simple piano parts to them or the simple organ parts to them. Obviously, you know, Silent Night ended up being played in the guitar because the organ broke down, and it was perfectly fine. And use your guitar players as well. It's perfectly fine for the guitar players to play it too, but it does not require. And I also, you know, a major event is a different thing. It's a chance for Christians to express their joy in the incarnation, and to their friends in their Royal Albert Hall, or in a broadcast which is going around the world. That's a different thing than how we express it in our churches. It's a different emotion, and they're all valid. But I think at the end of the day, you know, the one that we do with our local church is probably the most important. So
that's a great place to end. Thank you so much. Thanks, Keith, for joining us. You got up early to record this, so thank you so much. And Phil too. I just feel a little bit more Northern Irish this morning, and
actually, can I just say
a little bit less Essex in me.
Adrian, your vowel sounds. Speaking as somebody who's a quarter Reynolds, you know, I could tell by the end of the program your vowel sounds had almost, and your letter R. I mean, you were almost one of us.
I knew you were improving, Adrian. You know,
well, when you come from Essex, you do all you can to shake it off. That's what it is. Listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I hope if you've been listening, you felt really excited now about Christmas and making the most of that opportunity. If you've enjoyed the podcast, do rate and review it. Helps people find it, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.